r/ask Reddit. Have you ever woke up in the middle of a dream and the dream was so interesting that you wanted to go back to sleep to see the end of it? If so, what was the dream? I had a nightmare a couple years back, and I still remember some bits. I was in a city where there was an outbreak of a disease. Infected people would start leaking black stuff from their eyes and noses and attack non-infected people. For some reason, I was walking in a part of the city that was completely deserted a couple days after the outbreak. Very faintly I heard someone crying. I approached and found out that it came from a backyard. If I wanted to see who it was, I had to climb a high fence. When I walked into the backyard I was fucking horrified. There was a crying little kid, like 3 years old on a leash, tied to a pole. I didn't dare to approach, because that child was leaking valk stuff from the nose. I woke up after this, and was still horrified. The parents had to leave their child who was still alive, chained to a pole outside. That fucked me up for a couple of days. I would watch this movie. I dreamt that I was part of some Eastern European resistance movement who had to speak in code and hide out in abandoned manors in the forest to plan our attacks against some fascist regime. We enlisted the Pope to help us, but when we went to meet him, he has double-crossed us because the regime we were fighting somehow knew the Pope was gay and was going to tell everyone. I woke up then, not knowing if my resistance group was executed or if we escaped somehow. I call it my gay Pope dream. Was exploring a jungle with a group of, I assume, friends. We ended up discovering some kind of temple, but it was dark, so we decided to set up camp. I was charged with gathering dry wood and leaves for the fire. While macheting my way through vines, I heard my name being screamed by one of the group members in a terrified way, repeatedly. Woke up to see my mom yelling my name and to get the fuck up already. I never found out what that temple was. Edit. I have never watched any adventure movies like Indiana Jones or Jumanji, nor have I played any Uncharted game. I once dreamt that all of my family and closest friends were on the world's largest cruise ship. Along the way, we somehow were exposed to radioactive waste that gave us all superpowers or other mutations. I remember so vividly being able to use my mind to move objects with ease, and I threw donuts at my brother, whose skin had turned as hard as stone. This one girl on the cruise, that we all universally hated, for reasons I can't remember, received a really random and useless mutation. She grew a really fat lizard tail, like a leopard gecko who has eaten a lot. Lol. She was crying about how ugly she was now and all we could do was laugh. Then I woke up. I have a story about when the opposite of this happened. It was a fucking epic fantasy dream, let me tell ya. Evil wizard of some sort, that I'm pretty sure was my 8th grade math teacher, kidnapped princess, a worthless but snappy sidekick that was my best friend I roll. This dream had everything. So I beat the bad guy, rescued the princess, and brought her back to a village of, I think Uoks or something, I dunno. Big celebration. Everybody went hooray and stuff and then, it didn't end. We just kinda stood there looking at each other. It felt like a long time. Uoks just kinda start milling around and doing their everyday shit. Made some small talk with the princess. And then eventually the dream ended and I woke up. It was a strange one. Edit. 2 words. This was like the 4th strangest dream I've ever had. I had a dream that I had a bunch of birds and snakes just living in my kitchen. They were my pets, and I was cuddling my snakes on the couch, watching Netflix while my birds were chilling out, flying on top of my fridge and stuff. It was a great dream, and it was so vivid that, when I was waking up, I thought, crap, I left my snakes on the couch out with the birds. I hope they didn't eat one of the birds. I was disappointed when I came back to my senses and there were no animals in my home, but relieved that I wasn't such a negligent pet owner that my imaginary snakes ate my imaginary birds. My situation was a bit different. I was once having a pretty vivid nightmare about a zombie apocalypse. In the dream, I was running from a horde and I ducked into a random house. Time then passed in the dream, and I put my head down to rest while I listened to growls coming from outside. At that exact second I woke up. I was relieved that it was just a dream because it seemed so real. However, about 10 minutes later I fell back to sleep and the dream actually resumed. I remember think, oh my god, this isn't a dream within the dream. The rest was even more vivid and terrifying because I was convinced it was real. That was a pretty tough night, but it was interesting how my dream managed to resume itself, and it did it in such a way that I was convinced the incident was actually happening. My small 10-minute wake up period seemed like the dream. This is also the opposite, but one time I had a dream that I was in my hometown airport, a pretty big one, when suddenly a shooting started happening down the terminal. I used to work at an airport, so I found the nearest worker and had them open the nearest door out onto the tarmac. We started evacuating people as the shooting came closer. Somehow I was the last person to go through the door. When I reached the tarmac, there wasn't a single person in sight. Even the noises from inside the airport had stopped. Up above me the clouds were blacker than night, and purple lightning was striking frequently. As I walked out into the middle of the tarmac staring into the heavens, airplanes started crashing down all around me very cinematically. Honestly, the sight took my breath away, and not in a good way. It was very dreadful and dramatic. I can still see it in my head if I focus. I woke up just as a 737 crashed right on top of me. I have a pretty crazy imagination. I've had dreams where I find treasure or something else that's valuable, and I keep finding more and picking it up and trying to keep track of it all while I look for more, etc. In most of those dreams I think things like, yes, finally I'm rich. I can do whatever I want with my life, and I'm so happy. Then I always wake up right in the middle of grabbing more treasure, and I realize none of the treasure actually exists. That feeling of euphoria quickly disappears. I've tried to fall back asleep after this happens to get back to that dream, so I can feel that feeling again, but it never works. Right, so I in the dream got in a huge fight with these girls, who aren't my friends anymore. I roll. It was late at night and outside the school, and one of them, who I just met and was super mean to me, I roll, ran off crying after I told her to stop being such a bitch and to go F herself. I'm feisty, but only if you mess with me first. I then go home and see on the news that she wasn't home and is missing. Because she's popular, everyone is looking for her. Word gets out that I was last to see her and everyone hates me. I get death threats and shit. I then wake up, I wanted to see how it would end, so I went back to sleep. I also go looking for her, but no one finds her. Weeks later police say that I'm not in any trouble since there's evidence that I didn't kill her or anything. Everyone at school though wants me dead. A week later, when I just can't take it, Shane Dawson, yeah, hi, welcome to my weird, but at the same time not weird dreams. It's like I'm doing a documentary on you. We then do an interview and I tell him my side and how much everyone hates me. A week later I kill myself in the dream, and Shane Dawson puts out the documentary the next day showing that I truly was innocent. Crazy freaking dream, man. I have recurring dreams where I find a hidden room or sometimes even an entire hidden floor in the house I grew up in, or some random house. I love when I have those dreams because it's so interesting going through these rooms and floors and uncovering all these cool things about the past, but the dreams always end before I uncover the big mystery of why the room/floor exists and why it was lost for so many years. I try to go to sleep and pick it up again, but it never has the same momentum or feeling of excitement, like I'm forcing it instead of it happening naturally. I was on a flight to a family vacation and we were above the ocean. For whatever reason the door pops open but no one screams, and there's no vacuum effect. Out of curiosity I get up and check out what's happening. Then I hear my brother behind me say, "Hey, look." I turn around and he shoves me out of the plane. At first, it's terrifying. But then, a bird swoops by and we lock eyes. I notice I'm no longer falling, and then I realize I'm dreaming. I start falling again, and instead of hitting concrete, it's like I jumped off a short diving board. I shoot out of the water like Superman and fly off like a bullet. I do a couple flips, and as soon as I raise my fist like Superman, I wake up and punch my headboard. I wanted to go back so bad. I've never had a flying dream other than that one. Almost as good as 6 maybe even better, if I think about the long-term benefits. This is one of the most vivid dreams I've ever had. I was about 9 or 10, and I can remember every detail of it. Warning, slightly NSFW towards the end. So I was hanging out with the Teen Titans in the tower, chillin' with Beast Boy and Cyborg. Robin runs in and says Gizmo is robbing a PC Richard & Son, and we had to stop him. Now I wasn't a hero or anything, I was just me. So we get to PC Richard & Son and sure enough there's Gizmo. We charge at him, and he uses his newly upgraded Dr. Octopus looking arms to knock us all back. I was thrown into a car and woke up. For about 15 seconds I tried to fall back asleep and finally was back in the PC Richard & Son's parking lot, Raven holding me trying to wake me up. And that's when things got fun. I fucked Raven from Teen Titans in the dream. I was in 5th grade at the time, and we had just watched the public school Intro to Your Body and Sexuality videos, so I guess my horny little 10-year-old mind just took that and ran with it. Oh my god, yes. I was having such an interesting anime plot dream around New Year's. As I recall, I was the main character, and I and a select few others met an old man who gave each one a prophetic poem of some sort, and after that, the world was destroyed, like if the entire fabric or reality was torn apart at the seams. Only me and the others that got the prophecy weren't completely destroyed, born again in a completely different world with great powers for the purposes of fending off hordes of aliens or something, maybe even alien demons, I don't know. It was getting really good until I woke up because other people woke me and I was quite pissed off.